Hello and welcome to Toys on Trial, the show where we eviscerate the time-honoured plastic of our youth, one questionable design at a time. I am Rod Fletcher, one of your hosts.
I am Michael, Pimp Daddy Destro Briarwood.
Indeed. And we are here to talk to you about one of the time-honoured toy lines of not only the 80s, but also the 60s and 70s, G.I. Joe.
Yes, Merca the action figure, basically.
And I believe we have a clip for you.
I believe we do.
Just to bring you up to speed.
For freedom, wherever there's trouble, G.I. Joe is there.
It's here, the G.I. Joe collection. Infantry Trooper. Codename Grunt. Bazooka Soldier. Codename Zap. Motor Soldier. Codename Short Fuse. Laser Rifle Trooper. Codename Flash. Ranger. Codename Stalker. Communications Officer. Codename Breaker. Machine Gunner. Codename Rock and Roll. Counterintelligence. Codename Scarlet. Commando. Codename Snake Eyes. Each sold separately. G.I. Joe from Hasbro.
Commando, codenamed Cheaped Out on the Paint Apps. True story. The original Snake Eyes action figure was they basically spent their entire budget for paint on the rest of the line. So they thought, okay, well, what can we do in order to basically create an action figure that will be dirt cheap? They made the character entirely black, top to bottom, black bodysuit, Gimp from Pulp Fiction, or most popular G.I. Joe character in the line. The choice is yours.
And guess who goes for a lot of money on the collector's market?
This is where we're at. This is where we're at right now.
Now, we do realize that for so many of you, G.I. Joe could mean one of two things. Now, for a lot of people, G.I. Joe meant a doll about 12 inches tall.
Fabric costume,
even flocked hair. It had mossy hair. In 1964, Hasbro gave us basically their answer to the Barbie doll. And G.I. Joe was a generic action man. I think we actually have some pictures too. Was a generic action man with a whole slew of costumes. There we are.
Now, it's a true, Rod, that the G.I. Joe figure was essentially the world's first action figure.
Indeed. G.I. Joe to this day is considered the world's first action figure. Most of that is because at the time, we were dealing with not a small amount of possible male fragility, and they were reluctant to call it, for marketing reasons, of course, a doll.
And honestly, I mean, look at that thing. That's a doll.
It is a doll. Because we're secure in saying that.
Potential hot take.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We have another picture too, where we've got now, much like Barbie, a man of many careers, G.I. Joe. You could get him in all sorts of assortments. You could get him in a sailor's outfit, scuba diver's outfit. Oh, all of them, really. Even with a raft. And was there vehicles for this? I don't know. Image one. There you go. That's along there.
Yep.
That's it. This will give you an example.
Well, they may not have been vehicles, but there was certainly a nice assortment of costumes.
Now, while the character was not named, it was assumed that this was G.I. Joe. That every one of these figures you got between 1964 and 1978 was G.I. Joe. Unfortunately, like Barbie, he came in a variety of hair colors, skin tones, etc.
Well, they did eventually name the character. It sounds like the Village People. Yes, it does. They did eventually name the character. I believe he went by Joseph Colton.
Joe Colton.
Joey Colton.
Right.
Joey Jojo.
And they would actually reference him in one of the live-action films. I think
played by Bruce Willis.
We've come full circle.
We have come full circle.
Wonderful. So that's what G.I. Joe will mean for a lot of you, the 12-inch doll. Unfortunately, that line met its demise in 1978 due to waning sales and the oil crisis that was happening, I believe, in South America.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah, which absolutely spiked the prices of plastic. Now,
so it was a case of either paying the equivalent of about $50, $60 for your G.I. Joe today and shrinking the size. Now, I believe Kenner set the standard in toy sizes in that area with the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars line. Stay tuned. We're going to be dissecting Star Wars quite nicely in a few weeks.
Indeed.
Now, the other advantage to the 3 3/4 line was you could create vehicles and play patterns to engage the characters further. Gone were the costumes, in with the vehicles, and I think that was a really good call. I believe you've got an example just there, don't you?
I do. Very smart call though as well, because it means that they could appeal to more price points. Not everyone was made of money, of course, in the 70s, 80s, even now, of course. And so, if you had an assortment of vehicles and figures of all sizes, then you had all bases covered.
Now, this particular example is not up for a bonkening, as it is awesome, but In fact, AWE is in its name.
Now,
If you would kindly hold that up to the camera for me, Rod.
absolutely. What we have here is 1985's All Striker. Now,
Pew, pew, pew.
pew, pew, have the gun here. Now, many of these early G.I. Joe designs leaned into the military theme. After all, G.I. Joe was a special forces unit. So we
Later
had,
designs, not so much.
not so much, but we'll get onto that eventually. Now, this is basically a dune buggy with a roll cage painted green and very military looking. This was what we could expect for the first few years of G.I. Joe. This is, once again, the All Striker, a very cool piece indeed, and a fan favorite amongst collectors.
Currently available from Aaron's Collectibles, who are kind enough to host us this evening. What's the price on that guy, Rod?
The price on this boy, with figure, it comes with this figure, mind you. This figure is called Crankcase. This one is $99.
Not
And
bad.
from what I gather, I think that one's actually complete.
Delightful.
Lovely.
Does it have a missile, or was it just a cannon? Anyway.
Nope.
Anyway,
Anywho.
we're getting into the weeds here.
Now, just to backpedal a little bit, in 1982, Hasbro decided they wanted in on this 3 3/4 inch market, this new range, because Kenner was absolutely killing it on an IP they took a risk on called Star Wars. And that became the new benchmark. Hasbro, they didn't like that. They wanted to beat Kenner at its own game. So they released G.I. Joe just like this. This particular character is Rock and Roll. You might have seen him on the clip there. He's from the first wave from 1982. Now, this is the same scale as vintage Star Wars, except they went one better. This one has articulating elbows and knees.
Now, is
So
that
you
a
can
straight arm figure or a swivel arm?
This was a swivel arm.
Okay, so this was the second release of Rock and Roll. The first year of G.I. Joe characters had elbow articulation, but no swiveling on the arms.
That's right.
The second year onwards introduced what they call swivel arm battle grip.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Now, this is one of the first wave figures.
Show us a USS Flag or GTFO. We wish.
We wish. Have you ever seen one in person?
I have, yes.
We're going to mention the flag in just a bit.
Yeah. We'll
Can't
get
have
to
a G.I. Joe figure without mentioning the USS flag, so stay tuned. But yes, this is what they call a Wave 1.5 figure. This did come out in 1982 with a straight arm. This is what they call 1.5 because, as you can see, it moves its elbow. Now, this would be the standard from then on out. Now, when we talk about this era of G.I. Joe, we are talking about ARAH, A-R-A-H, which stands for A Real American Hero. Very handy if you're looking for this kind of stuff on eBay as well, or if you're looking for sale listings. You type in ARAH, and suddenly the floodgates are open. Sellers know exactly what you're talking about. Now, so 1982, Hasbro went in on that, and they came back in a big way and competed with Star Wars quite ferociously. Now,
They had the one thing Luke Skywalker didn't. Knees and elbows. That's two things.
absolutely. Also, they did what Motu did, Master of the Universe did, and really went hell for leather on actually creating a backstory for these guys. For the first time, G.I. Joe had named characters. Each carded figure had one of these that you could cut out of the card back and keep with your figure. This is a file card. This tells us everything we need to know about their character, where they grew up, and what their role is in the special mission force that is G.I. Joe.
Now, fictional armies are fantastic, but the one thing every army needs is an adversary.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about the adversary in this particular line, Rod.
Why don't we show them? Wave 1, Commander, if you will, please. Now, a hero is only as good as its villain. Enter the terrorist organization known as Cobra. I don't know if you can see the image coming up, but in the middle there is Cobra Commander, the big bad and one of the most iconic figures and villain characters of the 1980s.
Oh, you're too kind.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Those of you who remember the cartoon for G.I. Joe and remember the Transformers cartoon may recognize that the voice of Cobra Commander and Starscream were both
sound nothing like Starscream, you fool.
one and the same, done by the late great Chris Latta. Now, what we see here is Cobra Commander and two generic officers and soldiers. One's an officer and one's a soldier. Now, rounding out the cast of villains is we have a picture of the Baroness, Destro, and I think Major Blood, Storm Shadow, and Firefly. There he is, just along there. Yep.
Ah, there we go.
That's the way.
Yeah, you can tell we're prepared here.
Absolutely. I don't know if you guys can see that, but left to right, we have Major Blood, who's got an eye patch and like a robotic arm. Destro, the scary arms dealer in the silver mask.
Which is a bold fashion choice, all things considered.
Baroness, which is, was she a spy?
Intelligence, yeah. So yes.
Yes.
Now, Destro, the silver mask and the open chest. That is a bold fashion choice. That really is. So with we are the G.I. Joe Cobras, and we will rock you.
Indeed. They have
Now, speaking of bold fashion choices, we have right here a recent update of the what we call the Pimp Daddy Destro. Classy fellow. Classy fellow.
The Classified series is a modern retake of the vintage G.I. Joe in an upscaled size. And Destro, what was the story behind PD Destro? They call him Profit Director Destro.
Yes, but we all know what the PD stands for.
The PD stands for
Pimp Daddy. Yeah.
Now,
I believe PD Destro was a convention exclusive originally, who had like leopard print around his collar and a golden mask, hence the modern homage.
Indeed, this was an actual vintage figure.
You know what? I think it's time for a bonkening.
Possibly.
Let's roll ourselves a clip of what we're going to be bonking.
Okay.
Wow, that sounds sus. Second video, if you will, please.
Look, it's the Cobra Pogo. Joe's got trouble. He's got it bad. Cobra's got a pogo and it's up in bad. Pogo's loaded for action.
It's the new Cobra Commander, Cobra!
But Joe's coming back with the G.I. Joe Slam.
On the run for gun.
G.I. Joe Slam! It's out back in Graceland.
It's got a 4-cannon gun that can swivel to face the enemy.
G.I. Joe, American hero.
Live the adventure of G.I. Joe. Cobra Pogo, G.I. Joe Slam, and figures sold separately.
Go, Joe!
We now return to the real Ghostbusters.
We now do not return to the real Ghostbusters. We now return to Toys on Trial.
I swear that wasn't there before. Now, what you saw was the commercial for the 1987 vehicle, the Cobra Pogo.
Now, the Cobra Pogo, that's spinal trauma right there. Can you imagine just bounce, bounce, bounce? Yeah, no.
Mike, let me ask you, did you have the Cobra Pogo as a kid?
I did not have the Cobra Pogo as a kid.
Well, let me tell you, I did. One Christmas morning, I unwrapped that thing, and let me tell you...
Spent the entire day playing with his balls.
It is useless. You saw the commercial. It's meant to hop around. Those legs are completely molded. Aside from the opening hatch, that thing did literally nothing. Now, as we demonstrated a moment ago, most of those early G.I. Joe vehicles were rooted in reality. You know, you had an F-16 jet, which was the Sky Striker. You have this wonderful thing, which is the Ore Striker. And you had the Wolverine, tanks, that kind of thing. As this was a military-adjacent toy line. We are talking about a special forces thing here.
The Wolverine, one of the rare examples of gender balance in the G.I. Joe line.
Absolutely.
As you recall, the driver of the Wolverine was Lady J.
Cover girl.
Not
to split hairs. But yes. So early on, first few years, we had, we were right side by side with the whole military theme. By around the mid-80s, 86, 87, that's when the proverbial shark would start to be jumped. Starting, of course, with the Cobra Pogo.
Now, we don't actually have an example of the Cobra Pogo here. What we do have is this Pogo-shaped microphone, which I'm not going to bonk because it would cause severe audio issues.
Let me just bring up the rear of the box art. Here we are, Pogo 2, middle bottom shelf.
Yep.
Now, this cracks me up. I don't know if you guys can see that picture, but it says super realistic detail.
Yeah, no.
Based on what?
Based on what?
Based on what?
Like I said, spinal... And look at that. There's a gun down the bottom there.
There
is a gun underneath that. What is it going to do? Shoot at you while it's bouncing at you?
It's gone first jump.
Yeah.
First jump, that thing goes. Even the missiles didn't shoot or anything like that.
It's just complete spinal compression. No, that thing's getting bonked.
Yeah, absolutely bonked. And that's not even the worst part. Not only did this Pogo actually sell pretty darn well. Just about every friend of mine in primary school had it as well. But Hasbro actually had the audacity to re-release this.
Oh yeah, I know where you're going with
in
this
the early 90s. Please, if you will.
Good old Star Brigade. For when you want to evoke the moon landing but don't want to leave the atmosphere.
Absolutely. So they pumped it out again in neon colors. Because why not? Although, to its defense, this one actually had a spring-fired missile launcher, but still, those legs, stiff as a board, they don't hop at all.
Can you imagine, too? I mean, if that thing's atmospheric, you'd imagine it'd be making re-entry at some point.
Absolutely.
That thing's burning the heck up.
That thing is just a litany of physics-defying mockery.
You know what? I'm bonking it again.
Bonk it again. That ends it twice. The Cobra Pogo is rubbish.
Double
We
bonk.
actually had one in the shop a little while back, and surprise, surprise, it sold because for some reason, despite doing absolutely nothing, it's a popular vehicle.
Well, toy collectors love tragedies, I guess, which is why this show exists.
Indeed.
And the Cobra Pogo is very much in line for the Golden Rammy. Tell everybody about the Golden Rammy, Rod.
The Golden Rammy. Now, Rammy is short for Ram Man. Ram Man, God bless him, one of the most useless figures in the Masters of the Universe toy line, and so useless that he's not even up for debate here. He just is. We love him, but ye gods, he doesn't do a thing. What we have is a Rammy that we are spray painted gold as a reward for the worst toy that we can think of during the course of our show.
Yes. And we have contenders from both the Masters of the Universe line and the Transformers line. We will also have contenders from tonight for the G.I. Joe line, contenders from Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the Wild Card round. So stick around for that.
Indeed. Which I think leads us on to our next defendant.
Our next defender. Let's not split hairs on this. Yes. So you roll the third clip.
Before we do, yes.
Oh.
So, no, you're good. Cobra Commander, the villain, head of Cobra. Okay, worldwide terrorist organization. Very good, actually. Smart move, not confining Cobra to any one country. So to sidestep that nasty racism, which very well could have been an issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the 1980s. Russia was kind of the enemy du jour at the time, so well done, Hasbro, for not actually buying into that.
Indeed. It was a Reagan government, and new legislation, deregulation, meant that the US...
I think we've been challenged here.
We've been challenged?
Say Cobra Pogo 5 times fast. Cobra Pogo, Cobra Pogo, Cobra... Yeah, okay.
No, thank you.
That's not happening.
No, I owned it. That was bad enough. Yes, anyway, you have a military-adjacent toy line. You have an enemy that is not confined to any one nation. They are literally global. So, no particular race is getting called out. Also, the military characters, the Joes, special forces, they don't shoot bullets. They have lasers, which was great. And this was at a time, this was a Reagan government where suddenly everything was pro-war and everyone were like, woohoo, yes, let's have cartoons and toys that are very, very pro-military. Now,
something else to point out too. A lot of vehicles were shot down and destroyed in the original G.I. Joe cartoon. What you may notice if you go back and watch it now, every time a plane or a tank is shot down or blown up, you will always see the pilot making it to safety.
That's right. That was a big feature of the cartoon. Very, very clever. They did this the right way, if there is such a right way to market what is blatant patriotism.
All right.
But it made it to Australia, and some of us enjoyed it. Now,
I love that it's non-lethal military for no particular reason. They just knock each other out and hope the opponent gets tired and gives up.
Basically, yes.
Yeah, Duke. Same time tomorrow, Cobra Commander? No, my wife has a thing. All right, we'll see you Thursday. Yes, Thursday's good.
Basically. That was what we're dealing with,
Can't let kids think people die in war.
Nope. Rinse, repeat. Now, I started talking about Cobra Commander. Eventually, he would be ousted as an ineffectual leader. Well, we are now about to talk about his successor, the questionable, love him or hate him, Serpentor.
Okay, if you could roll clip 3, please, in the background.
If you can tell by my
Looks like Duke's an endangered species.
To pollute the environment, Cobra unleashes the septic tank and evil eco-warriors. But the Joes have eco-warriors too.
I'll take it, Duke!
The septic tank and eco-warriors have powerful water guns. And when hit, they change color to reveal battle damage.
My suit's corroding! Clean them up!
Joe and Cobra color change eco-warriors and septic tanks sold separately.
I've only begun to mess around.
And that was the wrong clip.
Unfortunately, that was the wrong clip.
This is how you know we're live, guys.
Warts and all.
Yeah, was it the second? It must have been the second clip.
Serpentor.
Inaccurate. Cobra Commander didn't have a wife. He was married to his job.
That's true. And he was ousted for it.
No, we don't actually have that clip up here right now.
We don't?
No, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this one.
Well, while we're waiting for that, I guess we'll just have to deal with the genuine article.
Is this the right clip? We've skipped a bunch of eras. No, it very much was not the right clip.
That was not the right clip. We are looking at Serpentor, the Cobra Emperor.
Yes, this, on the other hand, is the right clip.
Take a look.
Cobra Commander no longer has the ability to leave. Destro and Dr. Mindbender comb the tombs of the most evil leaders in history, and from their genetic tissues produce a composite clone, the ultimate Cobra Emperor, Serpentor. Introducing Serpentor, the ultimate Cobra Emperor.
Serpentor, the most evil foe of G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe.
Cobra!
Cobra Emperor comes with air chariot.
Joe!
Where do you start?
Well, you know what's a cracker of an idea? Let's combine the DNA of the most evil. And, you know, evil's kind of a matter of opinion when you're talking about who they actually got. They got Hannibal, they got Julius Caesar, they got a bunch of other historical.
Actually, we'll bring up the file card. We have the file card on file.
We do have the file card
there you
on
go.
File, yes. Toys on Trial, home of the greatest toy puns in the world.
That's what we do.
It's what we do.
Now, just as a special treat, I'm gonna read this out to you guys.
There we are.
Now, between the toy commercial, which was actually quite impressive, they actually give you some of the backstory of how he was created. He's basically a lab creation that's about a day old. Now, inspired by a strange recurring dream, Dr. Mindbender hatches a traitorous plan to replace Cobra Commander, mutiny basically, with a new leader. The Mad Doctor sends teams to tombs around the world to gather the DNA of the greatest warriors and leaders of all time. With this genetic material, Dr. Mindbender creates Serpentor, the new emperor of Cobra. He has the military genius and political acumen of Napoleon, Julius Caesar, Vlad Tepes, Ivan the Terrible, and other rulers who have shaped the course of history. World domination is the one and only thought in the mind of Serpentor, and he immediately launches a campaign to conquer the world.
I am the one born to rule and destined to conquer. Let those who fear me follow me. Let those who oppose me die.
Chewing the scenery like you wouldn't believe.
This I command.
Absolutely. This I
Yes.
command was his catchphrase. Those of you who might have watched the 80s cartoon created by Sunbow, same studio that did Transformers, may remember Serpentor from the second season, who after being literally 5 minutes old, unceremoniously ousted Cobra Commander and then would persist on becoming the most annoying prick for the rest of the entire cartoon.
Now, we're being very careful with this boy here, because this is a near complete Serpentor from here at Aaron's Collectibles. Serpentor had a very distinguishing feature, the action figure and the air chariot.
Oh, do tell.
Yes. Who's familiar with gold plastic syndrome? That's a time. That's a time. Played a number of the G.I. Joe lines and Transformers as well, all the way up to Beast Wars. Honestly, you look at this thing wrong, it will crumble into dust. I am actually filled with anxiety holding this up right now.
You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. I love it.
Yeah, don't tell me that.
I'll
I'm going to
I'll
put
hold
it
it if you want.
No, I'm going to put it down.
No, that's fine.
I'm going to put it down.
Well,
There
you
we
did
go.
great. You did great. They may make a surgeon out of you yet. Now,
Well, I'm doing a great job as a lawyer.
absolutely. Now, if I could actually just have a gander at this little boy.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Again, we're coming to you live from Aaron's Collectibles. And this is for sale as well. I deserve that. Now, gold plastic syndrome. If it's opaque and it's gold and it's from the 80s, you're going to have a bad time. But that being said, a lot of these have actually held up remarkably well. I honestly find more issue with the cape. See, he comes with this
cape's pretty funky.
very flimsy, glittery green emerald cape, which looks cool, I guess.
Again, it's a deliberate fashion choice,
But you could
which I think is going to be an ongoing theme in this episode.
indeed, you sneeze and the armholes will pop stitches. Okay. Same with his teeth. You can see his headdress, this huge ornate headdress, has teeth. Yeah, most of those are missing. This one, fortunately, has aged very, very well. The previous owner has looked after this very dearly. But yes, this was a set. He came with his air chariot. He also was meant to have like a bling, huge cobra that goes around his neck and a little dagger.
He really did go all in on the Cobra theme, this boy.
Yeah. This was
And honestly, you see that thing coming at you when you're on a battlefield. Your first thought is going to be WTF. And your second thought is going to be RTH.
absolutely. Let us know if you like it or not. I'm, to this day, 35 years on, still of two minds about this thing. As a cartoon character, can't stand him. He was the most annoying bastard that
On
ever
a
graced the
show
screen.
that had Cobra Commander.
Absolutely. I think I'm just salty about that, to be honest. But look, to be fair, as a kid, I actually did want this.
Honestly, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. This was also a wink at things to come. Now, at this point, G.I. Joe had more or less been rooted in some sort of reality.
Yeah, pop him down.
We're going to pop him down. We're not going to bonk this one. We're actually going to leave that up to you guys.
I'm going to bonk the table because he is a contender for the Golden Emmy. The gift your divorced dad gave you for Christmas '88.
Absolutely.
So that's a bonk for Serpentor. So I've got 2 bonks so far, both Cobra.
Both Cobra.
Both Cobra.
It's not looking good for the bad guys.
Not looking good for the bad guys. And honestly, Cobra, I'll tell you a little secret. I have always been a bad guy sympathizer. Decepticons, Skeletor, Cobra. Yes. Man!
Me, I've just always been a prick. But that's close enough, I suppose.
Well, yes. All right, so rooted in reality. I get the feeling you're going somewhere with this.
I am going somewhere with this. Now, as I was saying, up to this point, everything was sort of very military adjacent, kind of real world-esque. Yes, Cobra Commando, a bit campy, this kind of thing. Serpentor really amping it up and, throwing the whole DNA story about how he's, a mishmash of this person, that person, this person. We're kind of scratching our heads at this point going,
which is actually quite it's actually quite remarkable. Just back onto Serpentor for a second. You think he'd actually be trying to fight a war with himself?
Oh, yeah. Be very, like, if I was made up of 5 people, which, to be fair, sometimes I do feel that way, I'd feel very conflicted. Yeah.
Moving on
to 1987, where Hasbro would really, really begin to jump the shark. We are talking about
G.I. Joe the movie, I believe. Or a character that was introduced in G.I. Joe.
A character that was introduced in G.I. Joe the movie. As they say, there's always a bigger fish. Just when you thought they couldn't get as bad as Serpentor, Serpentor has a boss. We are talking about the hard to look at and hard to pronounce Globulus.
Yep. Complete with somebody sneezed backpack.
Now, we do not have a clip for this monstrosity because they never actually made a toy commercial for this particular figure.
I mean, honestly, if this was part of your toy line, would you advertise it?
No, not really. Now, not only does this...
kind of cool.
It looks cool, but serves no real function. Now, at this point, I'm just going to bring up the file card for this one because this is even more an outlandish story than Serpentor's background.
Now, you've shown us the dross, now show us the gloss. Cobra, Night Raven, and the Rattler. Best vehicles ever. You know what? I'm with you on that.
Amen.
Unfortunately, we don't have
Love the Rattler. We'd love to see one in flesh very much soon. In flesh and plastic.
Yeah, so guys, if you've got a Rattler you want to get rid of, Aaron's Collectibles is the place.
Or even just, us. But yeah,
or
please drop it by the shop.
All right.
So we have Globulus's card.
There we go. And
there we go. All right. I don't know if you can see that. It says descended from the...
There we go.
Oh, lovely. Descended from the serpent kings of prehistory, Globulus rules over Cobra La, a hidden secret valley in the Himalayas where the high priests of the biomechanical cult have created a technology based solely on living organisms. The buildings of Cobra La are really colonies of crustaceans, and the clothes of inhabitants are as alive as the people who wear them. Globulus has achieved immortality through symbiosis at the cost of his humanity. Sounds foreboding. Also sounds like bollocks. Now,
look, this is the point where G.I. Joe not only jumped the shark, careened over the shark onto over a cliff.
That's right. Before circling back and flipping it off.
Yeah, this is G.I. Joe does Call of Cthulhu, 2 amazing things that just do not mesh.
Indeed. Actually, you made a good point. This thing is, if nothing else, quite Lovecraftian.
Nemesis Enforcer was a good name for a vehicle.
Indeed.
Actually, the Nemesis Enforcer figure was kind of cool. I had that.
Now, Globulus here was the main antagonist in 1987's G.I. Joe the movie, voiced by the late, great Burgess Meredith. Yes.
of Batman 66 and Rocky fame.
Rocky, that's right. He was
Mm.
Mickey. Yes, that legendary actor, Burgess Meredith, lent his voice, bless him, to this monstrosity.
And probably regretted it.
And probably regretted it. I know I would.
Mm.
But hey, a job's a job. Now, this has a little bit of armature wiring in, so you can try and get him to coil and this and that, but really the tail, or whatever you call it, is not quite long enough. Honestly, it's just a giant.
Wasn't he in like a giant ball throughout most of the movie?
Yeah, in the movie, he was in this
Yeah.
kind of floating orb thing, which doesn't come with the figure. He comes in a 3-pack called the Cobra La Team, which I used to think as a kid was the Cobra LA team. Like, what are they from Los Angeles? I did.
More the Cobra San Francisco team, but that's another story.
came with 2 other figures almost as weird as this one.
What was it? The Nemesis Enforcer, and what was the other
And
one?
a Royal Guard.
Royal Guard, yeah.
Should have been Pythona.
Should
Just
have
saying.
absolutely. Pythona was cool.
Absolutely.
Pythona was cool as hell.
If you can hunt down the animated G.I. Joe movie from 1987, it's worth a look. The best thing about it by far is the intro. It's absolutely
Oh my
epic.
god, that was fantastic.
But yes, this was the main antagonist from that film. Honestly, he looks like something you'd find in the toilet bowl the day after a bender. You know, if you're lucky. This is just a kind of a flexi tapeworm. It's,
Way to make me corpse on air, you bastard.
you know, how did we get from this and rock and roll here to this?
The answer, ladies and gentlemen, is cocaine, and a lot of it.
The 80s was a unique time.
All right. Yeah,
Let us never forget it, but never revisit
Put him
it.
back.
I'm sorry.
He's
It's a
getting bombed.
bonk from me.
All right, so it's Globulus in line for the Golden Rammy.
And deservedly. Now,
All
we
right.
seem to be moving up in years, don't we?
We do. We also seem to be running out of time, so we better
Okay.
continue.
Well then,
All right, so the 1990s. We're moving forward in time a little bit. The 1990s in toy lines, particularly toy lines from Hasbro, we covered this a little last week,
we
was
did.
very much the era of neon.
Absolutely.
Now check this thing out. Rod, what the heck were they thinking?
This is what G.I. Joe would have eventually become by around 1992. Actually, between 1990 and 1994 is considered by collectors and fans as
Robo Joe, ladies
the
and gentlemen.
neon era. Things like Star Brigade, Eco Warriors. We've got a bunch of picks from this era where the concept is gone. Now, we understand
this
that
is cringe the decade right here.
absolutely the whole O-ring construction is gone. It's just, I mean, what is that big
I mean,
hunky
getting rid
thing?
of the O-ring construction probably wasn't a terrible idea. They,
Probably not.
oh my god, yeah, you're gonna love. Oh, good lord, not the neon era. Well, you know what, Gravedigger.
It's infamous.
Here's Gravedigger. This is what we do. We absolutely celebrate the good of these toy lines, but completely rank on the bad too.
You got to take the bad with the good, guys. Yes,
You-
the
you
neon
really do.
era is notorious in G.I. Joe because, frankly, at the time, that's what every other toy line was doing. Now, Hasbro had enjoyed success in the 80s with their, their pro-military toys, and it was time to evolve. Now, by the early 90s, things had suddenly begotten very, very bright. Every kid had a Super Soaker 50 in his hand. I know I did. And that was like bright green and yellow and orange. Everything
There was
was
a bunch of
just
figures from this era they didn't even bother to import locally. Yep.
absolutely. And you know
And
what?
honestly, we don't blame them.
And they've gotten stupidly rare on the secondary market.
Hmm.
We have
We've
some
got a couple-
examples
we've
of
got
the
a couple of
neon era,
examples right
don't we?
here. So, Law, the military policeman, came in the original figure came in a full MP outfit, came with his dog order, Law and Order. Very, very good. This, complete with this, is the neon era update.
Now, there's nothing covert about that.
No, nothing. I mean, nothing very MP about that either.
No.
if
That
you
is
miss-
not discreet.
No, and that was one thing the Joes of the 90s were not, is discreet. I mean,
Now, obviously, the first 2 years, you're going
we
to...
never saw the Mega Marines. I only learned they were real when I saw them in an art book last year. I remember actually Aaron's original shop in Camberwell used to have a couple of Mega Marines in.
Yes,
store
believe it
way
or
back
not, some of these later Joes are some of the hardest to get.
They have bio armor with his Play-Doh. Yeah, that is exactly what the Mega Marines bio armor was. It was literally Play-Doh that you put on the figure.
We've got another one here, too. Now, off the top of my head, I can't quite recall who this is.
Yeah, this is
But this
Captain Neck Pain right here. Can you imagine trying to carry this thing around on you?
This is how
On your noggin?
far. This is how far Hasbro strayed from God's light when it came to GI Joe.
Yep.
Everything was
Come off.
hypercolor. Funnily, hypercolor t-shirts were a thing of that time. Everything was just neon. I
Did you
remember.
have a hypercolor t-shirt? I had a
I
hypercolor
did. I
t-shirt.
did. Hell,
Turned from a murky brown to a murky yellow.
I had
Good
happy
times.
pants. Who remembers happy pants? Bloody happy pants. Everything was neon.
Sneaky special operatives? No, we're going to a rave. BYO glow sticks.
Yes. The only way these guys are covert is in a doof tent.
All right. So, and look, honestly, we've got prime example of the neon era right now. I don't even know what the hell this thing is called, but it launches I've just knocked over half the toys, and it just launches this tiny little plastic crappy glider. You know what? 3, 2, 1,
Bonk.
bonk.
Even the quality left something to be desired. Now this still actually has some weight
That's
about
got
it.
some heft to it, yeah.
It's got some heft to it. Eventually, they would be pushing something like this out for the same cost. This is completely hollow. I had one of these too.
You poor man.
Poor man, yeah, but you know,
You poor unfortunate. Have you got any of the terrible multi-armed aliens from Star Brigade? Again, wasn't released locally. Thankfully, we do not.
we don't, but we do have a picture of the most ridiculous figure of all
I know
time.
where you're going with this.
You know where I'm going.
Ice Cream Soldier.
Ice Cream Soldier.
Ice Cream Soldier. All right.
Now, most people, when they think of the neon era of G.I. Joe, they go straight to this guy. I know I do.
There's a rubber chicken again. Yep, that's Bonk.
Oh, yeah.
Very important part of the team. Okay, why Ice Cream Soldier?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ice Cream Soldier.
Like, where did they come up with a name? Like, it just seems ridiculous.
To
Did he
this
just
day,
really
I
like
have
ice
no
cream?
idea.
He just really liked ice cream.
You know what? And you know what? This figure goes for a lot of money. A
What's
lot
his-
of money. You
what-
find him complete, which is hard to do because he comes with about... I'll give him this. Towards the end, G.I. Joe's came with about 20 accessories. Instead of just, a gun and a helmet. You got like a whole plastic tree thing of...
His blaster gave you a brain freeze, quite possibly. And yes, you're right, Gravedigger. They mostly were redos from Early Alliance. The septic tank was an orange hiss, quite correct.
Yep.
Mhm.
So we're getting remolds, which is not, to be fair, not uncommon for toy lines. We actually have a picture of the septic tank as well.
Do we?
But ice cream, yes, we do. So there we are. Left, far left.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
There we go. This is what G.I. Joe became. How the mighty have fallen. That's right.
Alright.
The Eco Warriors septic tank. That's
so,
right.
septic tank. Think what a septic tank is.
We are going to blast G.I. Joe
With poo.
with
Classic.
sewage. With
Weapon
whatever...
really color change battle damage. Yes, it goes from
with
bright orange to
whatever's in the
sticky brown.
water outside the National Gallery of Victoria. The really, it's that. It's that crossed with several block toilets. That's what, because clearly they've run out of lasers.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I mean,
All right. So now, as you probably remember, and honestly, we've bonked a lot tonight. Every episode of the G.I. Joe cartoon used to end with a PSA. Knowing is, after all, half the battle.
indeed.
I believe we have one of those on file right now. If we could roll that last video clip, please.
Do it.
Oh man, check out that thing, man.
What do you want to do with it?
Let's launch over it.
Who wants a body massage? Only Hawaii.
What did he just say to us?
Low. Mr. Body Massage Machine. Gone.
What the hell?
Body massage.
G.I. Joe!
Tell me that was fan made.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, that was absolutely fan made. That was
Okay.
a,
All right.
yeah, that was a classic. One of the first memes, actually, that body massage.
Oh, wonderful.
yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, from the early 2000s.
excellent.
This is the world we're living in today.
I'm seeing that for the first time. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah, I had not seen that one.
Hmm.
I thought I was
No,
across all
there
the
was
stuff.
there was actually an entire line, like series of them.
Lovely.
Yeah, this is,
But yes,
what
this
we're
has
living in.
been G.I. Joe, a real American hero, or ARA for sure. Now, like any toy line, it has its peaks and troughs. By the mid '80s, this was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Probably not something I would actively collect now, if not for the nostalgia.
Hmm.
We have an annual of the comic. I forgot to mention this is actually a very successful comic book, which also
Still is.
helped round out the characters, most of which were created by Larry Hama. Yep. So I'm going to wrap it up. Leave you with that.
And remember, knowing is half the battle.
Thanks for watching, guys. Let us know what you thought, and court adjourned.